Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hi, red.olaughlin here, and we're on Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. We're also on the E360 network, Amazon Fire, Roku. There's just a number of places that this program can be seen live. Recorded, it's available on YouTube. It's being streamed live on my social media channels and on other parts of the social media for the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Most of the time I talk about health and wellness. That's really where my passion lies, but I also have a passion in helping people get their books written and published. And part of that passion comes about from, I guess, the first time that I had given a speech, and I said at Toastmasters meeting, I said, if you want to increase your credibility quickly, write a book so that you can be introduced as a published author on the topic that you're giving. Now, I could write a book on cake decorating and talk about financial planning as my topic, but I'm still introduced as a published author. It kind of sets you above and beyond. But if I'm being introduced as a financial author and I'm speaking on the same topic, that gives you even more credibility. So there's lots of reasons to do that, but I gave that, and about a year later, a guy gave me a call on the phone and says, hey, I was at that meeting. I wrote this book. I can't get it published. Well, at that point in time, I think I had written and published. I had published my first book through a company. The second one I did myself. And I said, well, let me see what I can do to help you. And a couple of weeks, he had his book in his hand, ready to roll. It's not difficult, the publishing process. But he recommended me to someone else. That person recommended me. It went 5 levels deep, each person saying, hey, can you help me? And boom. All of a sudden, I was looking at it and I says, I got to sell a lot of books to make the same amount of money that I would make publishing a book. So I still help people get their books written. But from a publishing perspective, the cost of that and time involvement is totally different than spending weeks or months helping somebody get a book written. Anyway, so today I decided, let's just go ahead and talk about book writing for a while. It's been a while since I covered that subject, probably quite a while, actually. And there's a lot of people out there says, you hear, you should write a book. And the book writing itself is fairly easy. There's actually probably the easiest part of the whole process is book writing. But when it comes down to actually getting something that's usable for other people, that involves some other skills. But why do people write books? Why do people want to write a book? Well, some of the standard answers are legacy, money. They want to help change lives, help others. Sometimes they want to document personal accomplishments. Sometimes they want passive income. Some people are just natural storytellers, and that's part of what they want to do. They want to be famous. They want to be known. They want to be rich. Sometimes all they want to do is share a message or give value to people. So there's a lot of reasons why people can write a book. But books are basically written to persuade, to inform, and to entertain. And you might find all 3 of those in one book. But if you look at whether it's a young adult romance, that could be entertainment. If you're looking at how to do something, well, obviously it could be an informational one. if you're looking at other things. So persuade, inform, entertain are the primary reasons why people write books. But why should they write a book? I think that's even more important. Usually I get a call from somebody and we'll start out talking and I'll ask them the question, well, who's your audience? And anyone. Well, if anyone is your audience, that means that guy that's under the freeway overpass really wants to buy your book. No, there's a much smaller audience than anybody. And that's sometimes hard to come to grips with, because you may have a topic that could literally help everyone, but that's not your audience for your book, even though it may seem like it at the time. But I think the authors that I see that are a little bit more successful than I just want to write a book, I want to be rich, and it goes out for everyone. Generally speaking, if you want to establish credibility, increase your audience, and share some value, if you are in those categories and you want to persuade, inform, and entertain, you'll probably be a whole lot more successful, because credibility goes a long ways into how people assess you. If depending on what kind of network you have, being able to increase the size of that network obviously is very, very important. And to share value with people, because that's what people are going to tell others. I read this book, or I saw this guy on YouTube, or whatever it may happen to be, and all of a sudden you're going to have additional credibility that you never even knew you had. So how does a new author get started? Well, generically speaking, if you go to Google and you add it up, it says, well, you decide what you want to write about. Then you research your topic and outline it. Use a writer's guide, get the right software, write the first chapter, create a title, get a cozy writing space, set some goals. But yeah, generically that might work, but I can tell you from a lot of experience that it doesn't work as well as it seems when you just read out, well, research, write, whatever. My thoughts are just a little bit different on that. If I'm going to have somebody write a book, then is writing your thing. And I have a brother, very well educated, and we go there and I say, hey, think about writing a book. He could easily write one, but he has no interest in it. That's not what he wants to do. So you have to have some level of interest in writing. Now, can you do an audio book? Absolutely. It can be talked out just like we're doing right now. You can have a video book, just as easy. I put out a missive the other day on social network with my great-grandson, and I said I'm in the process of evaluating having some kind of, well, initially my thought was to have a book so that when he turns 15, 16, here, boom, here's a book. Here is everything you ever want to know about your great-grandparents, whether we're still alive or not. But then I started thinking, is that the audience? My audience right now is one person, but that person, as he grows up, the ability to have a written book in your hands is probably not going to be the norm. So I said, well, maybe I need to get on a video platform and record it. So I'm saying, hey, Leon, that's his name. This is your great grandpa, this umpty up, and just kind of go and talk about things in my past, and have my wife here, so a great grandma's here too. And we do a series of videos. That might be a better way of reaching that particular audience. So now, as you're looking at things, I tell people, research your competition. They're the ones that are taking money away from you, because you have a topic, they have a topic, it's the same topic. What do you have that is better than what they have? So research your topic is critical, but not necessarily from the research your topic from the generic Google search. So I want to look at, what are you passionate about? If you have 15 chapters in your book, most generic helps to start with chapter 1. Well, I tell people, start with the chapter that you're most passionate about, because that's the one that you're going to do. It's the one that's going to lead to a higher comfort level with the other one. So that is very, very critical. They tell you, get a title, create this, get a good writing. It's whatever you have at the time. I'm going to talk about down the road a super simple, easy way of taking a fairly complex topic and condensing it down where it makes a lot of sense. But when you start having that passion to write something or verbalize it or videotape it, it's going to come out. And maybe what your book is a compilation of YouTube videos, a compilation of blogs you've written, a compilation of a lot of things, podcasts that you may have done. So there's just a lot of things out there that can be done. And it's also critical that you want to make some money, but I'm going to tell you right now that new authors generally don't sell 100 books. That 100 books does not cover the cost of your book writing as such. Yes, you can write a book for free. I wrote a book on how to write and publish a book for free. It's easy to do, not difficult at all. But if you start expecting, $1,000 a month here, there, and yonder, you're going to be very disappointed. So, but depending on what your passion is, let's say that you're a cake decorator. Well, being able to describe cake decoration with some illustrations might be easy. It might be a better book in video form. But if I'm a cake decorator, my audience is very small, say, versus an app designer. Somebody's designing apps for something. Again, a different audience completely, again, very small. Maybe I have somebody who wants to cover their legacy. And for people over 55, 65, that's not a bad thing to do. Maybe you've had such a worldly life that part of the life is, you and your family. Maybe part of it's your military career. Maybe part of it's your business that you were in, businesses, a lot of things there. So legacy could be something, but content creation could just be another one. During COVID, I wrote 40 some articles on Alzheimer's, different pathways Alzheimer's goes through the body. Well, I just decided one day that we just publish those 40 articles. And I did. I became a book. So I took my own advice on that particular one and said, I have a bunch of blogs on this topic. Why not publish them? I have another client who did the same thing. He had been writing weekly newsletters for, I don't know how long, well over a couple of years. And he combined them all into a book. He had already done the research. He'd already written the stuff. It's just a matter of now getting it formatted so that everything kind of fit together nicely. So that was his book. And then he did another one very similar, two back to back very, very quickly. So the content creation gives you the breadth in order to take and publish a book, 2 books, 3 books. So there's a lot of things in that. I have over 1,000 original content articles on LinkedIn. I've been a writer most of my life. It seems like I can't remember when I didn't write. I remember going to a remedial class because I flunked something in college and I had to go to summer school. And I got this teacher who they said was absolutely the hardest teacher at that college. Well, he was a pussycat for night students because he knew they all worked or whatever. And I learned a lot. I mean, just absolutely a lot about writing because we had to write every night. So there are things there, but I think is a very good way for people to begin writing a book because you have an archive of stuff that can be pulled from. Maybe you want to write a book on Made Easy, whatever Made Easy may happen to be, or some specialty topics. Maybe it's a cancer treatment, financial option, retirement in foreign countries. There's lots and lots and lots of ways to write books, but then when the rubber meets the road, is the book going to sell? Will it be successful? Well, if your expectation is to sell 10 books a month and you're very dedicated to doing that, over time, yes, you will be successful. 10 books a month may not be much, but it's a lot, especially for a lot of new authors. That's a lot of books. But expectations lead to happiness. If you set your expectations low, 10 books a month, okay, I only sell 5 this month. It's close. But if you say, I want to sell 100 books a month, and I only sell 5, that's a bit of a disillusionment. So disappointment. So most authors will never sell more than 100 books. That's been pretty well documented. So if you start selling more than 100 books, consider yourself to be an exceptional writer. What is the cost of writing a book? Literally nothing other than your time. But that time could then be months or years in the actual process of getting that book written. So what is your payback on, not including your time, but just what is there? Well, you have cost for writing and maybe editing, developmental editing, line editing. We'll talk about that down the road. Ghostwriting is extremely expensive. buying an ISBN, proofing, cover art, marketing, advertising. All those things are a fairly high cost item. Somebody says, well, I can use AI and write a book. Yeah, not a problem. I do know some people who do it. I have known some people who they don't want to use AI for anything, but they want to just be a pure writer. Okay, not a problem. But if you write a book and you use AI, Amazon, Kindle are going to require you disclose that in the publishing process. If you used AI for the cover generation, for illustrations inside, for the text, they want to know that you used AI for that. And there's a little block there, yes or no. And that doesn't go into a lot of detail. But how can you write a book today? What would really help? Let's say you're a public speaker and you sell books at seminars. You could be selling books at seminars, events, on things like we're doing now. But for public speaker, it increases credibility immensely. If you are anybody in front of an audience, literally, whether you're a public speaker or not, you're in front of an audience because that's the nature of your business. Having a book in your back pocket really and truly increases everything. It's just, and you could be writing a book and it may not be on the same topic you're speaking today, but that's fine. You're a published author. It just kind of gives you a little check mark off to the side. I have one client. I was at a networking event and she says, does anybody know a ghostwriter? I put in a little chat box there, said, contact me afterwards. I'm not a ghostwriter, but I got to understand what she wanted. She is what they call an inspirational speaker. She's unique in the fact that she has no arms, very, very tiny arms. She was a thalidomide baby. Her mom was taking thalidomide back in the 60s in Germany. And she was born with no arms. It was a common birth defect back then. But she's a magnificent, very dynamic speaker. She had no book. The people who booked her says, do you have any books we can sell at the back of the room? And anyway, long story made short, I worked with her, coached her for about a year, got her books out, boom, done, and thank you very much. I have a guy approach me. He did a 6-month honeymoon back in 1964 and went to 16 countries in Europe and North Africa. He had ended up with over 120 pictures in there. We started out 800 pages. We got it pared down to 400 something, but his book was on a honeymoon that lasted 6 months way back when. And I thought it was very well done. How big is the audience? I don't know, but it's almost a legacy, or at least it's a semi-legacy in a very, very narrow perspective. I have a woman who wanted a cookbook, okay, but she had special designs for a cookbook. She wanted her cookbook to lay flat, which means it had to have spiral binding in it. That's not a typical way you get the book done from Amazon. It's actually very expensive. But there was a fairly easy way to get that done. So she has her book. You lay the book out at least flat. You can write on it. I have another author. She has about 300 website URLs for pumpkins, and she wanted a cookbook on pumpkins because that's her thing. So we got her book done, pictures, got everything done. And so that her specialty was not just a cookbook, but a cookbook for pumpkins. I have other ones that have done children's books, other ones that have done how-to compilation books, a lot of things there. I got a customer the other day, a client. He has 4 generations of family moving from Missouri back during the Civil War to Texas, and he put it in storybook form. And again, it's a very lengthy book. It took a lot to get the thing down into the 400-page range, but it was a very, very detailed book of what happened to whom at that particular point in time, after the post-Civil War, or actually post-Civil War, pre-World War I, and everything in between, because most everything happened in his book between the 1850s and the 1920s. I ran into a guy actually at a roadside tavern. We were sitting around, I can't remember the details, but he came by and started up a conversation, and in 5 minutes he says, I have a book I've been working on for 20 years. I'd like to get it published. So we talked about that. He was in Vietnam, had a friendly fire accident on the Cambodian border, wiped out half his crew. He spent almost a year in rehab. And he spent time writing the book, but could not get it published. Got the book published for him fairly quickly, about 2 weeks. He had the book in his hand. The one book on politics, guy had over 400 hot links of things that were pertinent. He had just, I'm going to say probably 300 footnotes. Very, very technical book. Again, and every one had a playing card, just like you hear about the playing cards after Saddam Hussein. He had a playing card for each politician in the book, and so there's 52 of those plus a couple of jokers. I've done a couple of compilation books. I was an author compiled in with several others. I have books that I've written on weight loss, on subconscious mind, on various aspects of health and wellness. I just published my last book last month on a religious topic, something that I would never ever expected myself to write, but I did. So as I'm looking at things, I want to know, who is my competition? Because that tells me who out there is stealing the same topic, not stealing, using the same topic that I am, and are they successful? And if they are, what are they selling that I'm not? So I try to get my new authors to do a competitor analysis before they ever begin writing. That tells you who are your competitors, what kind of books do they have, what are their titles, how many pages are there, how big are their books, what genres do they write in, what are their categories, what does their table of contents look like, can I read any of their book in advance? Maybe I need to buy their ebook in order to say, hey, this looks like a pretty good book. I might want to make sure that I cover some of these same topics. How long have their books been on the market? What are their prices? If I have something that I'm offering greater value than someone else, I want to be able to hone in on that topic and talk about it. So, but I also want to know the success stories. If I have the top 20 or 50 authors, I can go into Amazon on any category and look at the top 50 authors on any book, how much they're selling. And I can go in and, okay, how many pages, what's the price setting? It gives me the ability now to look at my competition. I want my books to look like theirs because they're successful books. If I have my picture on the front of my book and nobody else has a picture on the front of their book, that's a clue. That may not necessarily be what I need to have. So, but I look at the covers. I look at the colors they've chosen, the fonts that they're using. I look at everything there. And just because you have a title doesn't mean anybody can find it. So sometimes you need to have a title, but you also need to have a subtitle that has the keywords in if somebody's doing a Google search that they can find you. So those are very, very critical. You also want to have the colors the same as the other ones. If you're writing on health and wellness, maybe your colors are blue and green or something. But take a look at what's there. If most of the book covers have more yellow and orange than something else, that's a clue. They've already done the research. People are buying those books. Your book should look very much like theirs. So if you find 3 books, get a copy of the cover page. You can do that very easily from Amazon. Send that to your designer saying, I want a book that looks like this. And that helps that part of it. So when you start looking at the top selling books, now you start off saying, okay, I know what this person is offering. I know what value they're giving. This is my value. It's different than theirs in these ways. And so as I'm marketing my book, I can talk about, John Smith over here has a book. Now I can even show his picture. And that we're going to talk about down the road because that's very, very important to identify your competitors. And so the books that John Smith has, mine is better than theirs because this is what I'm doing. And so you tell people, and they recognize that book, but they don't recognize yours. So you have a cover and you're saying, I also include this, this, and this. And you're doing that very honestly because you know what their book has. So with that being done, it looks like it's about time to wrap up today. The archives and YouTube for Talking Heads is available. Just go back, anyone you can search. We're going to be doing a topic for the next couple of weeks on how do new authors get started. And again, we can be found on E360 TV, on Roku, on Amazon Fire, on Zizzle. I forgot to mention Zizzle earlier. and on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. So Red O'Laughlin here signing off for this week, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Take care. Bye now.